Hi everyone. Today I'd like to work a little bit on releasing tight upper trapezius. So you might get this sensation, especially if you are rather sedentary in your workplace, you're seated over a long period of time looking at things very intensely, and this area gets very tight. So we'll do a little bit of a mobility work to release it, and a little bit of myofascial release as well. So you will need a foam roller, and if you have like a tennis ball or lacrosse ball is fine, or you can also use a peanut like this, and a yoga block to support your neck, and maybe a light resistance band if you have one. If you don't, you can actually use maybe a yoga strap or a belt. Okay, so to start off first, I'm going to mobilize this area, the thoracic area, and there are many ways to do it. One of the ways is actually very similar to what we do in yoga, which is the threading of the eye of a needle. All right, so let's just get set up for that. You will need that foam roller, and you will come into a position that is like all fours. So in yoga, when we do threading the eye of a needle, we just turn up towards the ceiling and then we thread downwards here. So today we're going to use this yoga block, and we're thinking about sliding the yoga block further away. So let's just set it up. I hope this yoga block doesn't slide off the mat. It's going to be placed on my left side. So we're going to inhale, you twist, and then as you exhale, right, just take the palm under. You can bend this left elbow and then you slide. So as you slide, right, think about dropping your right shoulder down towards the floor. Don't worry if it doesn't get there. And then pull it back in, and then inhale again, looking up. And then as you exhale, slide it through. Okay, key things to actually note when you're doing this sliding action is like your hips, they don't torque or go too much zigzag to the side. All right, we do our very best. So let's just do 5 of this from now. Inhale, as you exhale, slide, letting that shoulder drop down a little bit as you slide across more. And then again, breathe in, open up the chest, breathe out, slide it through. Right, can stay for extra breaths at the bottom range if you like. And the third one, and then sliding it through, and return, and then fourth, and sliding it through, and fifth. Okay, and sliding it through. Now I'm going to stay here for a little bit. Think about letting the shoulders drop and pushing that the foam roller a little bit further away. Take a couple of breaths here. You can let the head come down. All right, continue to slide, making sure your hips doesn't like go too outwards towards the left side. Twist a little bit, looking up towards the ceiling for 3, 2, 1, and then slowly inhale to come up. Now switching over to the other side, so the foam roller comes onto my right side, and I reach up tall to the left, push tall to the right hand, place the back of the hand or the elbow there, and then slide it through. Breathe. If it doesn't come down, it's fine. Okay, let's repeat here. Inhale. As you exhale, slide it through, feeling that little bit of a twist. Maybe the shoulders can come down a little bit more. Breathe in, and then breathe out, slide through. Some nice stretch going on in my back. And then inhale, and then exhale, sliding. Okay, last one here. Inhale. And as I exhale, okay, we can pause and wait here. Okay, hips tags back to the center, releasing the shoulders down, and push this foam roller slightly out as you turn the chest slightly upwards towards the ceiling. Hold it here, right? So you can feel the stretch at the back of the shoulder area, including the back, for 3, 2, and 1. And then I pull myself back upright. Okay, so that was the first exercise, just to mobilize the movement a little bit. So as you are able to twist or move more the T-spine, right, then the other areas will sort of feel a little bit looser and more cooperative. Okay, now the next one, you can take a yoga strap, or you can use this resistance band. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this band on my upper trapezius, and just like a handbag sling right here. So the key thing to observe for this one is I'm trying to actually keep the shoulders down, and there's one neck muscle, so scalene is attached to like the first rib area. So when it's very tight and when we turn our head or drop the ear, this whole area, if you imagine the scalene, it's like this muscle right here. If it's really very tight, so when I turn, this heights up. So I'm going to use this band, right, to actually ground it down a little bit better, right? So you can hold it this way, pull a little bit, it shouldn't hurt, and then take a couple of breaths first, letting this whole area thing, like, let it rest, let it settle, and then very, very slowly. So you want this to be not an overkill, right? I'm gonna breathe in, and as I breathe out, I'm just going to slowly tilt over towards my left shoulder, left ear to left shoulder. Okay. And then just breathe here. Okay, you would want your head to not be in a forward position nor a backward position, but it's just directly, this ear is over the shoulder. Then you can actually turn the neck, the chin down slightly, or for my case, if I lift it up a little bit, I do feel a better stretch in the scalene area. So it's like right this area here. Now there are 3 scalene muscles, so that's why we change position, and everyone is a little bit different, right? So as I speak, we're holding it for quite a while. Maybe we take 3 more breaths here in your sweet spot. And 1. Okay, and then we release it. Then we swap over to the other side. So like a handbag sling, and then the back hand goes from behind and anchor it, tether it, and pull it down. So take a few moments here and not rush it, right? Notice the breath as you inhale. The breath is nice and full. And as you exhale, this whole area doesn't move. It's very stable. Good. And then when you feel that there's very little movement right here now, I'm gonna inhale, and then we go slow. So just go like 10% at a time. I know my this side is actually tighter because the shoulder wanted to like lift up and hike up. So I just like back off a little bit and be a little bit slower. So the intention is to just generate length, a stretch, right, without letting that shoulder hike up. So it has to be a little bit more careful with this one, especially when it's tighter, right? And I can turn my head in various positions, chin down, chin up, and I will just access it like, where does the shoulder tend to want to jump? That's kind of like my sweet spot. So you're just gonna hold it in your sweet spot. Now we are not going for a massive extreme stretch sensation. Rather, I like you to keep it like 60% max, and feel that whenever you move or you stretch a little bit more, this whole area of that shoulder and first rib keeps tethering downwards. Everything should be gentle and not aggressive when it comes to neck stuff. Then take 1 more breath here, 1 more breath out, and I'm slowly going to release it. All right, so that was the scalenes, and it does get very, very tight if we are like short and rounded throughout the day. Okay, then the next little thing is you can just use a tennis ball, right? I have this thing called a peanut, and it's quite useful for certain positions. So if you don't have a peanut, you actually can have 2 tennis balls and tie it with 2 socks, with 1 sock, all right? So it creates this kind of position, not to worry about it. Now I'm gonna mobilize, and it's gonna be sweetly sore, painful, right? This area here. So my scapular is, shoulder blade is here, right? And then it's just around this area. And it doesn't have to be like pressing down very, very hard. Feel free to use a towel to like lie over your peanut or your tennis ball. Okay, now depending on the person, we might need a pillow or a yoga block to rest the head down. So I'm just going to like place it right here. You can use your forearms instead. I'm using a colorful mat for contrast so that it's easier for you to see. So I'm just gonna slowly lie over it. Okay, so the back peanut is just like in front end of my shoulder blade, and then the other one is like probably hitting my serratus a little bit. Then what you do is you can just move up and down, okay, and find whether it's well, it's a little bit sore for me. Okay, and once I've like found a little bit of a sweet spot, I'm just going to support my neck a little bit right here. And then you take a couple of breaths. So I'll do this with you for 5 breaths. So we breathe in, we breathe out, and see whether we have a sinking quality down. Now, if you have a fight reflex, that means things here starts to stiffen, right? It's too much. So I'd like you to put a towel over it and maybe like shift the position a little bit higher or lower. So as I spoke, there's probably 3 breath counts already. So 2 more, inhale, and then exhale. Okay, so right here, what I can do is I can just move my arms a little bit into internal rotation. So this is turning in, and then external rotation. Notice the movements are very, very small. And I'm not doing some things like if I can't go anymore, I purposely fight it or be very aggressive. So you just want to think about this whole area, right? It's a very gentle release as you just move through it, right? You can also keep your arms straight and turn in and out. I get more leverage into the position when I just do a L-shaped position, like cactus arms, and just move up and down a little bit. Okay, so that was that. As promised, we're going to now move on to the upper traps area, which is kind of like this position right here. So 1 ball will be enough, but of course I'm using the peanut today, and I'm just going to show you on this shoulder. So you're going to lie down, right? And up to you, you can place a block underneath your head or not. So peanut is going to go underneath this area here, like at the upper traps, and you're just going to lie down over it. Now guys, it's like if you put it too far up the border, the whole thing might spill up. So sometimes like tennis ball with a sock, it gives a little bit more friction, and you can bend your knees. Okay, I'm not going to use a yoga block because I'm quite fine over here, and I'm just going to like roll up and down a little bit. We've done like a lot of this in like some classes with myofascial release, and it's fine. Now I get a sweet spot, and for me my hips are slightly elevated, so I'll slide this yoga block underneath it. If you feel your neck is very scrunchy, then put a block behind the head. And then right here, right, I'm just letting my arms go into this position, like a cactus arms position. And if your pecs are very tight, your shoulders will round down. So we're just moving like here. And we are going to do small glides like angel wings, right? Like, yeah, here. So we keep the shoulders down. You don't have to force it. It might look like this. The hands, we just slide it up. You don't have to straighten it completely, and down. Up and down. Right, let's just do 3 more of these. Good. And if you want to, you can actually move it further down to another spot. So feel free to explore. And then again, right, I will just do a little bit of motorcycle arms first to let it like soften the entire area, to release the tension there. And then here, widen at the collarbones and surrender through the arms. Okay, you might have to wait if you're very, very tight. Feel free to actually stack something underneath your elbows to keep it in this position instead, like maybe a towel or a cushion, right? Mine happens to fall down. And then again, right, you slide up and down like 5 to 8 angel wings. It should feel quite nice, right? So this is not as bad as the other one when I lie on the side, but that's like, it depends on the person. Good. And then there are other movements that you can do instead of angel wings. So you can try to like crisscross your arms over, right? Move it like you're like drawing circles with your elbows and things like that. Anything that might just release it, right? So even upward arm positions, whatever that feels good. So you can continue rolling down your upper trap area all the way to slightly lower here. And let me just balance it back by doing the other side of my shoulders. So peanut, right? That's not the upper trap. This one is more like for the sides here. I'm gonna lie down. So onto my other side. Okay, so right here, just come into the position. Maybe I just roll up and down a little bit just to find, okay, the sweet spot. And you can stay here for a while as I speak. Just breathe and lie over it. And then, so we mobilize the shoulders thereafter, right? And this is my dominant hand, my right hand, which I use a lot in pulling and in pull. So it's actually really, really quite stiff. The range is quite limited, and I'm actually using this peanut to actually mobilize the area. Okay, it should feel good after this, right? Feel free to move, but do not force it. So if you feel like this is my end range right now for today, I do not want to like push it down deliberately, right? Continue to floss it. Yeah, and look for smooth movements rather than, aggressive, because every like release, you do not want to force it, right? You want the nervous system to be calm so that things actually like let go a little bit, rather than if you force it, it just gets counterintuitive and productive because it will just tighten up much, much more. Okay, so well, students will ask me how long should I do it. As long as you want to, but generally, like in my practice, maybe before I do a back bend or I stretch my shoulders, right, I just work this for about 30 seconds. I don't have like I don't need to do it for 5 minutes or so. So 30 seconds, because it loosens up the area completely, and then I will feel like, okay. So as I speak, this is getting a lot smoother already. I can feel it. There's no pulling or resistance, not as much as when I first started. So it already has done enough for today, okay, for me. All right. So I hope you find this useful, especially if you tend to have a lot of tension and tightness in the upper body around here. So thank you very, very much.